get it started. We're all here looking at the poster that impromptu speaking or table topics is something where we often feel or puts us into a situation where we feel after listening to someone's speech that, oh, wow, I should have got that topic. I would have spoken. I would have had a wonderful speech for that. And later, when you get your topic, you'll be like, oops, what do I speak now? It's all geared up for it, but then what do I speak now? And it's an unprepared speech, right? Impromptu or table topics is an unprepared speech. So how do we actually prepare for an unprepared speech? That's a tricky question, right? So to not just to answer that, but to also help us to understand how do we deliver that, or how do we understand the tricks and tips of an impromptu speaking session. We have a champion speaker in the room. A long time back, maybe some of you joined a little early, like around 8:25, you would have heard our conversations. I had the privilege of meeting and being with Sandun a couple of times. Like back then, it was District 82, it was Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka together as one district. So every year, every alternative year, once we used to travel to Sri Lanka, the other year they used to come to Chennai. So that's how we get an opportunity to meet, and not just meet, but I've also had the privilege of witnessing his winning evaluation, district winning evaluation speech. And more than that, what I cherish a lot, I don't know whether Sandun remembers that, Sandun is also the one of the mentees of 2014 World Champion of Public Speaking, Dhananjay Hedrache, one of my favorites in terms of a world champion. And Sandun used to share a lot of stories, like the behind the scenes, just before the contest, just before the event, what happened. So those were like things you will never get to hear, right? So I still remember those stories, and those are moments which I really cherished, and definitely like a great friend and a big bro, and something which we all cherish. You would have heard me telling this in Toastmasters many times, right? Apart from leadership and communication, the friends we earn in Toastmasters is something we always cherish. Yes, so Sandun is one such wonderful friend, all the way from Sri Lanka, joining us today for this great session. He is CEO at CEMEX HRM. He is also the performance strategist at Blue Mango Partners. As I just mentioned, he is the evaluation champion and the table topics champion in district level winner. And that is, we all know, right? As members, when we start the contest, it starts at the club level, and then the winner goes to area, the area winner goes to division to district. So the district winner is the champion, the ultimate champion. So that's how Sandun did it a couple of times, one for evaluation and one for impromptu speaking. I always used to wonder, like, how there is an international speech contest. Why there is no international speech contest for table topics? I always used to wonder. So last year, since now there is no boundaries in terms of virtual meetings, there were a few who organized a world level impromptu speaking contest, and no surprises, no guesses. Our own Sandun was the winner of the worldwide impromptu speaking contest too. So with a huge round of applause and with the virtual hearts, let us all lower the virtual stage to our champion, Toastmaster Sandun.
Thank you. That was such a heartfelt introduction, and thanks, Joe. It was humbling to hear all of that from a good friend. And also, I need to admire the fact that when Joe originally asked me, he gave me the time slot that y'all meet regularly, and I said, Joe, I have a bit of commitments and everything, and He was so nice to say, hey, you know what, you tell the time that you are comfortable, we will get the team. So it's really humbling to know that y'all are that generous with your time, and let me reciprocate that and give y'all everything that I know about table topics, hopefully in the time that is allocated. Let us get into it right away. Here's the thing, whatever I'm going to say, you will not remember it at the end of the session if you did not come here looking for it. Whatever I say, you will not remember it at the end of this session if you did not come here looking for it. So, here's what I want to do. I want all of you to take a couple of, I wouldn't say minutes, I'm sure you have it in your mind. Use the chat option and type, what do you need to know about contesting in a table topics contest? Write your questions as short and as specific as possible in the chat box. Because you know why? If not, I will speak for the next 30-40 minutes and I will say it's the Q&A and none of you will ask questions. Right? So that doesn't mean because you've understood everything, but that means because it's the end of the night, it's a Friday night, and whatever I've said, you have enjoyed it to a certain extent. You probably picked a point or two and you're happy. No. Let's make sure that this session gives you a lot more. Right? So Heshma's already started. Jagruti, are you asking about how to start? I suppose that, or are you asking whether we have started the session? If you're asking whether we have started the session, we've already gone 2 minutes into it.
Okay. I'm asking how to start if any sudden topic came and we are not ready for it. Yeah.
Superb. Let's go into that. Ashwini has said how to make it humorous. Okay. How to construct the speech. Rohit. Good. Keep them coming. Ask yourself, what do I want to learn? Right? Pratmesh, how do you hit the nail, keeping the given topic in mind? Okay. Very interesting. I love the choice of words. Y'all are already creative writing all these things. How do you continue when you feel stuck? That's very important. Nidhi is asking how to become a good speaker. Wow. Short answer, Nidhi. First, become a good person. Then when you speak what you are as a person, you are a good speaker. Simple. That's the simplest answer I can give. Right? Joe, if you were there at 2013 reverberations in, I believe it was IIT Bangalore, 2013.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. Okay. 2013 reverberations was when Dhananjay Hettiarch gave a keynote. He won the World Championship in 2014, and in 2013 November, he gave a keynote in IIM Bangalore at Reverberations, and in that he answered this question saying, you can learn all the techniques that you want to about public speaking, but if you believe that is going to make you a better speaker, you are mistaken. Right? He said that, and he said, become a better person. And add to that, in 2018, when my very good friend Shamraj, 2017 if I'm not mistaken, yes, 2017, when Shamraj and Hema Malini were placed second and third in the international speech contest and Kaishika won it, right? Yes, 2017. When Kaishika won it, I was visibly heartbroken because in my opinion, Hemmalini and Sham that day gave killer performances. So, Sham, as many of you know, is a very good friend. Shamrak Ashokan, the legend of District 82 to win 4 titles, right? He's a very good friend as well. I've come to Vidulnagar and visited him, stayed with his family. That's how close we are. So I'm answering one of the questions here where when Sham lost that conversation, I went and asked Sham, what can I do for you? And it was in 2017, the district conference was in Sri Lanka, and Dhananjay was at the conference. And as I asked Sham, what can I do for you? I went back and I asked Dan, this Shamraj, because Shamraj started speaking after Dhananjay's era, after 2014. So Shamraj and Dhananjay haven't crossed paths. But in my opinion, these were two great speakers. So I went up to Dhananjay and I asked, and when I took Shamraj to Dhananjay after that loss, and when Dhananjay was talking to Shamraj, he asked Shamraj a few questions about why you have been such a good speaker but have not won the district. And during that conversation, how Dhananjay ended the conversation is he told Shamraj, next year, do not come as the same person with a different speech. Go, do things that you haven't done in life. Go to places that you haven't been to. Talk to people that you haven't spoken to. Experience things that you haven't before, because that is going to make you a different person and a new person. And when that is the case, you will see a difference. He very simply said, you cannot be the same person year on year, giving different speeches and expect to become better. You have to become a different person or a better person. That is when you become a better speaker. And this stands true to this date. And as pretty much all of you know, the rest is genuinely history, because in 2018, Shamraj won the, was it 2019? Actually, 2019, he won. And so did 2020, I believe. Yeah, 19 and 20, he went on to win the district championship. So I hope all of you took that value, because let me connect that to what I want to tell you about table topics as well. Here's the thing. Thank you very much, by the way, for all the questions, and these questions triggered me to start my conversation. Although I will not be taking one by one, I hope a lot of my questions will, a lot of your questions will be answered with what I'm going to share. And if by chance towards the end I have not addressed your question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And by the way, you don't need to stay till the end of the session. You can talk to me at any given time. If it is not clear, you can unmute yourself and just excuse me and ask the question, and I will stop what I'm saying and I will address it. All right. Okay, so starting off, how do you prepare for a table topic? That's an interesting question, right? Because how do you prepare for a topic that you don't know? And if you know the topic, hey, you're cheating, right? That's not allowed. So assuming that you do not know the topic, how do you get ready for a topic that you don't know? Here is my answer. Remember, whether you know the topic beforehand or you don't, you can only speak about things that you know. Right? You can be creative, you can come up with a story, but remember this, even to come up with a story, you need to have ideas in your head to create that story within that 2 minutes. And you have probably 10 to 15 seconds to start anyways. Right? So the first thing that all of you need to understand is you can only speak of what you know. Then the question comes, what do you do when you get a topic that you're not familiar with? I will answer that subsequently, right? Make a note, I will answer that. So let's start with, if we can only speak what we know, then what do I mean by preparing for a table topics contest is you go through your experiences, you go through what you know, and you recall them, and you have them ready at the edge of your mind, at the tip of your tongue, so that when the topic is given, you can draw what you know about that topic and say it. I hope you're with me. When you recall what you know, these are your experiences. These are your personal stories. This is what you have read, the books, the songs that you have heard, the programs that you have watched, the speakers that you have listened to. Your entire life is a collection of material that forms your ideas, your opinions. And in a table topic, what you have to do is you have to recall those experiences, those material that is relevant to the topic and deliver it in the next 2 to 2.5 minutes. That's it. You have to start with that confidence. And this is where, here's the thing, I know how, including myself, how a lot of us prepare for table topics contest is that closer to the date, we start talking to all our friends and asking them about all the topics under the sun that they have used in their table topic speaking career. We talk to senior Toastmasters, we get topics from them. We buy books from the bookshop about proverbs, idioms, and all of these quotations, famous quotations, and everything. We try to memorize all of these. What a worthless effort. Trust me, I did that for about 5, 6 years, right? I did that. Then I realized that's really not going to help because you're taking a chance against a losing battle. As much as I have so much of love and respect to each and every one of you, your mind is not going to register thousands and thousands of idioms and proverbs, and you cannot be prepared enough to know that I'm going to know this. I mean, it's a part of the process. You should read, you must improve your literature knowledge, you must improve your aesthetics. That's true. But that's not how you get ready for a table topic. How you get ready for a table topic is in your mind, you recall the experiences in your life. You recall the knowledge and the content, and you organize it into generic pillars under themes. For example, themes about life, themes about love, a theme about friendship, a theme about memories, a theme about failures and challenges and everything. Right? So your experiences in life, your stories, the people in your life who have influenced you, the books that you have read, the people that you have listened to, the popular culture heroes that you respect and idealize. You think of all of them, you think of the content that you have regarding them, and you ask them, okay, for example, I'm sure all of you here love Gandhiji. And what are your favorite stories about Gandhiji? And those stories, where does it fall under? The famous story of non-violence and standing against believing in something. Which theme does it fall under? Or his famous story, or his famous quotation, be the change you want to be the change you want to see in the world. Where does that fall into? Or if you are, like me, a fan of Abraham Lincoln, or Nelson Mandela, or Mother Teresa, from the popular culture, right? Or if you are a sports fan, who are your favorite cricketers? The run machine, Virat Kohli the Great, right? The stories about him, where does it fall under? Or about well, I hope I get it right. Is that Talva Dhoni or Talaiva Dhoni? How do you call him?
Hello, Dhoni.
Talva Dhoni, yeah, from Chennai, right? You know, or now you have famous the Hitman Sharma, or my favorite boys, the Pandya brothers, or even you have, if you can go out of India, and then if you are fans of the, how do you say, India's favorite Australian, David Warner, or India's favorite South African, AB de Villiers,
Degree.
right? You can talk about them, or you don't have to be a cricket fan. You can be a football fan. Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi. You can be a tennis fan. So sports figures, or you can even look at contemporary business people, from Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos, or to the yester generations ones, from Bill Gates to Steve Jobs. So this knowledge, and not just that, People in your life, your amma and appa, right? Your mama or papa, your brothers and sisters, your teachers, your friends, your mentors from Toastmasters. You recall these incidents, these stories, their memories with you, and you try to group them, because that way it's easier to recall, right? This is the trick of preparing for table topics, because remember, you cannot speak of something that you don't know of or that you haven't thought about in that 10-15 seconds for the next 2.5 minutes. It doesn't happen that way. But if you are clear about your memories and you have them in boxes that you can pick, once you understand what is the theme of the topic, it makes your speech that much relevant. And when you practice this technique and master it, again, this is my technique I'm sharing with you. I hope it works for you. And when you master this, that's when you recall. You recall fast, you relate it, and then remember, this is content that you know. So because of that, you can deliver it with confidence. And some of you here have asked this question: how do you speak without pausing? How do you handle your stage fear, nervousness, thinking quickly? All of this is related to that. Because remember, when you are clear about this is what I know and this is what I'm going to speak about, you're not going to be very nervous. And you're probably not going to get stuck as well. Because remember, it's only 120 seconds that you have to speak. At 140 words per minute, that is just 280 words. Unless you speak really fast. But if you're speaking like Joe, you're probably at 200 words. Right? So this is it. You must start with the confidence that I can talk about this topic, provided you're clear about what are your experiences that you can talk about, what's the material that you have. Is that part clear? Yes, a thumbs up, maybe. Right, great, great, great. Okay, now the next thing is, what do you do with the topic? Here's a couple of tips that I practice in life, right? Or for that matter, here's a story. 2011 division contest in Sri Lanka. Table topics finals. The night before was a very good night with a lot of friends. As you can imagine, the contest was on a Sunday morning and Saturday night is a good night. I dragged myself to the contest, cursing anybody who called the contest at 7:30. Sharp at 8:15, it starts with the table topics contest. I can hardly stand because the night before was very good. And I go on stage. In fact, that contest in 2011, because there were a few concerns about the contest master reading the topic and then the speakers not hearing it clearly, as the topics master read the topic, there was a handwritten or a printed version of that topic that is given to the speaker who's about to go on the stage, because you can then read it and understand. Do you want to know what a good time I had? Just before I went on stage and the topics master was reading the topic, and the sergeant at arms gave me that piece of paper. This was well briefed through emails and then during the contest briefing and everything. And when the topics master, the sergeant at arms gave me that topic, the printed version, I looked at him and I asked, "What is this?" And that few seconds I'm talking to him, the contest master has already read the question also. Imagine in that state of mind. And this, I kid you not, this is the topic that was read out on that day. The topic is, a kite rises highest against the wind and not with the wind. Can any one of you repeat it? You're all paying attention to me right now. Can you repeat it? I'm sure you will
The
start.
kite flies highest against the wind, not with the wind.
Ah, well done, well done. You've got some attentive people with some good memory. Good for you, brother. But I wasn't like this that day.
You had a
And
good night rest.
yes, when they repeated, I didn't even hear it properly. However, however, this is the trick that I learned that day that I've been sharing ever since is that the trick is you don't have to remember the topic word to word, right? And if you, again, trust me, I'm talking about an average brain like mine, but if you are super gifted and you can remember things when you hear them once, good on you, right? I'm talking to the majority. Try not to remember the topic word to word because it consumes your RAM, it consumes your mental capacity that you can otherwise use to do well in the speech. So, what you need to do is when you hear the topic has an idea or a message. Now, let me ask some of you to join in here and tell me when you hear the topic, a kite rises highest against the wind and not with the wind. Tell me that topic as a message, not word to word. What's the message? What's the idea that comes to mind when you hear that? Shanvi, go for it.
The idea what I get from hearing this topic is that we always perform our best in adversities when things are
100
not.
points. Exactly. Anyone else wants to go? Anybody with like a slightly different take?
Beat the odds.
Beat the odds. Thanks, Prathamesh. Who else?
I have another perception.
Yes, please.
Traveling with the wind is not to have too much baggage on your head. Just be free and break free. Don't take stress. Think positively.
There you go. Travel light. Travel light, then the wind against you won't stop you. Beautiful, beautiful. And let me tell you, since 2011, I've been using this, and this is one of the most unique interpretations of that topic. Beautiful. There you go. This is what I want you to be good at. Not to worry too much about remembering the topic, but to train yourself so that when you hear a topic, you can connect it to an idea. Now ask yourself this: the idea is easier to remember than trying to remember the topic word to word. And you must admit, some of these topics, the way the literature is structured, the sentence is structured, they put all these words next to each other that if you have to repeat it 3 times, you will get it wrong. And the table topics contest that I won in 2016, it was, I think it was Chennai, right? We were in Chennai. Yeah, 2016. The topic was, if it is for me, it's up to me. And even if you get a recording of that speech, I said it about 3 or 4 different ways during my 2 minute speech. Imagine, if it is for me, it is up to me. I said, if it is meant for me, I said, it is up to me, something or the other. Now imagine, this is a very simple sentence, but the way the words are structured is, if it is for me, it's up to me. No, see, I can't even say that still, right? But the idea on that is, I must make things happen for myself, right? So the second trick is, when you hear the topic, especially at a contest, unless you are familiar with that topic or you can remember this topic, brilliant. If not, pick the idea, work with the idea. Pick the idea, work with the idea. Because here's the thing, it is easier for you to bring in your content, your experiences, and all the material. It's easier for you to bring in and relate it to a theme or an idea as opposed to trying to relate it to a topic. You should try that. You should try that. An idea, it's easier to relate it to experiences as opposed to a specific topic. So that is the second trick. Do not waste your mental capacity or your brain space in trying to remember the topic, but the moment you listen to the topic, there is an idea that is generated in your head about the interpretation or the message of that topic. Speak on that, right? And here's another tip. When that idea is there, the first question you need to ask is, do I agree with it or do I disagree with it? Or am I not decided about it? For example, Let's take what that ma'am said right now about travel light so that whatever is against you won't pull you back. Beautiful, right? And in general, a lot of us think that we need to agree with the topic at table. Topic says nothing like that. It's your opinion. It's not a debate. Remember this. It's not a debate. It's a 2-minute speech where you're talking about your experience and your opinion about the topic that is given. So you don't have to worry about the counter argument. If you want to disagree, and if there are experiences in your life that tells you you don't have to carry light or you don't have to travel light, okay, I'll give you a simple example or a way of thinking that you can disagree with that topic is there is a famous saying that says, if you want to go far, travel alone. But if you want to enjoy the journey, travel with a crowd. Right? Now, what does that mean? The exact opposite of travel light. Right? You can climb the highest peaks in your life on your own. But is that the same when you have 4 or 5 of your friends and family around you? You might not climb the peak, but the journey, the stops, the jokes, the conversations are always better. Now see, here I'm giving you a completely opposite take on that interpretation. And what am I trying to tell you is that there is no fixed way of approaching a topic. It's entirely up to you. And in that 2 minutes, when you look at the topic as a question and you ask yourself, do I agree with it or do I disagree with it? Right? For the next 2 minutes, what you have to do is give evidence from your life's experiences as to why you have that opinion of whether to agree with it or to disagree with it. Right? And as I speak about that sorry, who was that lady who gave that interpretation? I need to know the name, please. Ma'am, if you can unmute
Yeah, it
and
was me, Heshma.
Heshma, right?
Reshma.
Heshma.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So Heshma, here's the thing. Now, the more I think about it, because it's such a lovely interpretation, I'm going to use that for the example and say, in my life, probably my biggest baggage is my mother. And I have given a speech on that as well. And when I say she's the biggest baggage, I say that with all my love. And what do I mean by baggage is that she still thinks after 37 years that I'm her little baby. Right? Despite marriage and a child who's 5 year old, who's my own, she still calls me and asks me about, hey, did you eat? Hey, did you do this? Worse, she calls me on Sundays and she asks me, hey, what is the scripture today? She wants to know if I've been to church or not. Right? And she will call me at the most odd hour. She doesn't care whether I'm a trainer, whether I'm with an audience from Dubai or Chennai. She doesn't care. I call, I have to answer. And then sometimes, or most of the time, she talks utter rubbish. She'll talk about neighbors' dogs dying. She'll talk about some auntie dying. Oh my God. Right? So, in a way, it's baggage. But if you ask me, and also here's the thing, she has never worked a day in her life because my father spoiled her and took care of her, gave her 6 kids and said, look after them from home. She had never worked a day in her life. So every time she tries to give me advice about my career and my life, they're all wrong. The 1 or 2 times very early in my career, I took her advice, my career went for a 6. And with all love, I tell you, she had never done a job in her life. She doesn't know to look at these things. She never studied economics or business or anything. So she can't give me advice on this. And that doesn't make her any less a greater mother. It just says that I shouldn't get career advice from her. That's all. So you see, in my 2 minutes, if I talk about my mother, again, I can do this better because I gave this speech in 2015 for the International Speech Contest. It was actually called the title. The title was The Baggage. And I spoke about her and I said how loving her is such a baggage. But I would never, never, never travel without that baggage. Because it is that baggage that that comes in handy, that becomes very useful whenever I need something. It is that baggage that carries all the medicine, all the entertainment, all the food and everything in my life. Right? And has it made me slow? Of course it has. And if you ask me again, would I travel without that so that I can travel faster or further? No, I'd always go and have that. So there you go. So Heshma's interpretation, I can either agree with it and go ahead, or I can give this story and give a completely different opinion. But what you need to understand is, now this is all based on my experiences. And I'm telling you, no judge can mark me down or mark me up because I agree or disagree with the topic. The judging ballot is very clear. It is the relevance. It is not the accuracy. It's the relevance to the topic, right? And how do you win those marks for the construction and the relevance is you give evidence. You tell the story. You tell the reason why you believe it is. And if you are not decided, tell it at the end. Give points for it, give points against it, and say, hey guys, I'm not really decided on this. What are your thoughts? And that for me is like a beautiful way to end as well. Because you're creating value for the audience saying, hey, think about it. Right? So these are techniques that I do in table topics. Now, you might understand, array, yaar, this is like really complex structuring. But here's the thing. You have to think about this and get your mind ready before you go to the contest. You need to have these things internalized before you go to the contest. That is when, and not just that, you need to practice these things. You need to practice these things. I remember my good friend and the superb talent we borrowed from India and now we proudly call it Sri Lankan, DTM Trishma Pinto from Mangalore, if you all remember, who was a district runner-up in table topics and a district champion in evaluation, right, of District 82, who's right now in Sri Lanka. I remember in 2012 when she was in the finals of the table topic contest, where she became the runner-up to Rajdeep Manmani, right? The night before. All right, let's move on. The night before, during the fun night, Trishma was getting her club members and her friends and her mentors to give her random topics in the middle of the fun night, dancing in the rain. And when people were throwing random topics at her, she was trying to see if she can do a speech on that. This is a true story, right? Which means you got to practice these techniques with as many topics as possible when you get ready. And again, I'm sure Joe will remember DTM Kalpana from Sri Lanka, who was also a district finalist in table topics. I remember DTM Kalpana came and we met up to practice when she was in the district finals of table topics in 2017. This was the year my good friend Shamraj did a mind-blowing speech and won, right? So when Kalpana came to practice, in 1 hour, she did roughly 20, she did about 20 to 25 speeches in 1 hour. And how we did that was in rapid succession. DTM Niroshan Nadaraja, myself, and who else was there? We all met up because we were helping her to get ready for the district conference, and then all of us had our written down topics, our idioms and everything. She brought in a book filled with all of that, and we were giving her topics one after the other. And she was trying to come up with speeches and structures on that. And while she was doing that, we were eating pizza, we were drinking Coke, we were doing all of that, and we were giving speeches. That is the intensity you have to practice. Different speeches, see if you can relate this technique. See if you can come up with a topic, a theme or an idea. See if you can come up with a story that relates to that. Right? And then finally, on the day of the contest, now this is all the preparation part I'm talking about. The day of the contest, don't try to think about all these things before you go on stage. You have to be in a mode where, because if you try to recall them or think about them, you're blocking yourself. I share this experience saying, when you go on stage and when the topics master read that topic, you should be like a white canvas, open. The topic is like a few drops of paint that falls on that canvas. And then what you do is, you fold the canvas, you squash it, you shake it, you do whatever, you wipe it, you do all of that, and then you unfold that canvas. And whatever the pattern that comes out of it, that's your masterpiece. So if you want to deliver that masterpiece, you've got to remain in a very zen state of mind. focus on your breathing. Before you go on stage, don't think about anything that you have practiced or done. Just focus on your mind. And the process is, when you hear the topic, register the important words and understand the topic into, or rather relate the topic into a theme, and ask yourself the question, do I agree or disagree? And if I agree, why? If I disagree, why? The moment you do that, your mind will channel all those things in your life that helps you to say whether you agree with this or not. Stories from your childhood, stories from your friends, stories from your school days, books that you have read, famous people that you have followed, all of that, songs that it flows.
My worry,
Okay, doesn't matter. Sometimes we unmute ourselves. That's okay. So when you are in that Zen state of mind and your mind is like the white canvas, whatever the topic that you receive, you can. And this is where I answer the topic, the question that some of you have asked, saying, what happens when you get a topic that you have never felt or that you have never come across in your life? Or what happens if you hear a topic that you just don't register? By the way, let me tell you, it's very hard not to have an idea about a topic. You may not know about that, but every word, every sentence that is uttered will have some meaning. So understanding what the message is might not be very difficult. However, I don't deny the fact that there could be days that you hear. I'll tell you a famous story that I have shared many a times, and if you have heard it before, I apologize. 2010 Smedley Club contest. The topic that was given is just this: David and Goliath. David and Goliath. Now, right now, if you know what David and Goliath means, just give me a thumbs up reaction. Okay, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry. I know it's a tough topic, but you don't have to cry. Okay, Joe knows about it. No one else in this audience. Brilliant. Okay, Dinka knows about it. Who else? Okay, Joe and Dinka. These are the only people, is it? Or
I think they are putting the thumbs up. Abhilash,
Ashwini, Abhilash?
Ashwini,
Yes, yes,
I think
yes.
Rohit also, Subhadra.
Oh, brilliant. There is a few of you. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you. Right. So a few of you knows it and the rest of you don't. Okay. So I will tell you what the topic is after I relate this story to you. The topic was given, right? And I knew what it meant. So I went and gave my speech. By the way, I disagreed with the topic on that day because I had a personal experience. Soon after me came one of the best impromptu speakers in our club, whom I thought to be my biggest competitor for that day. A very, very smart individual, well read, very comfortable. He's an engineer, by the way. The equivalent of IIT in India is University of Moratuwa in Sri Lanka, and he was one of those guys with the highest GPAs in that. Right? I'm just giving you context as to what a brilliant guy this guy is. But unfortunately, he was like one of you, had no idea what David and Goliath is, or who David and Goliath. This is exactly how he started the topic, the speech. He's like, they read his name, let's say his name was Joe. He's like, Joe, David and Goliath, David and Goliath, Joe. He didn't even bat his eyelids, looked at the audience and said, I know one David. Who the hell is Goliath? Because 2 years before, our club president's name was David. And then after that, he went on to speak for the next 2 minutes about in life, sometimes you're put in situations where you have no idea about. What are you going to do in that situation? And then he related an experience from his life where he was asked a question by this girl in a bus or somewhere where he got stuck. I can't remember the full details, but he went on and he spoke for 2 minutes. And he said, just like David and Goliath is to me, one day in life you're going to get these topics. What are you going to do about it? And if I remember right, he ended very funny saying something like, "Oh, the red card, time's up," and he went. After entertaining the crowd for almost 2 minutes plus without knowing what the topic was. And God as my witness, true story, this is how it ended. I was seated right in front in the front row because it was club contest in a small hall. And there was a vacant seat right next to me. He came, and while he was sitting right next to me, he looked at me and he asked, "Who the hell is Goliath, man?" 1 minute silence for the judges, everybody went hysterical, right? Now, coming back, David and Goliath is a biblical story. So, if you're a Catholic or a Christian, you can relate to this. And in popular contests, so many people have used it. It is a story about a shepherd boy fighting against a trained warrior and take down the warrior in one slingshot. So, it's a story that is often used, or rather, it's a phrase that is often used to say that doesn't matter how big or small you are, what matters is your heart, right? And you can take on bigger people. And also another interpretation of that is bigger the man, harder he falls. And since you have been a nice audience, let me tell you what my speech was. I played rugby in school. For those of you who are seeing me virtually, you probably think I'm a ruggerite body and everything. Joe will probably laugh because I'm a 5'6", roughly 68 kilo weighing man. And when I played rugby, this was almost 20 years ago in school. So probably about another 10 or 15 kilos less, and maybe an inch or two smaller. You know ruggerites, and you can imagine me. But I still played rugby because when they passed the ball to me, I could run like a rickshawala in Mumbai. I can just go through all channels and all the small, tiny gaps, and that's why I played rugby, right? But you can't play rugby just because you can run, because it's good if you get the ball all the time, but the other team also gets the ball. And also, not everybody in the team are the same size. Majority of the ruggerites are bigger. And when they get the ball, you can't ask for the ball, you have to take it from them, so you have to tackle. And I never tackled any big boys for the entire duration of my rugby life. And my coach would always repeat that line saying, "Bigger the man, harder he falls." Remember that, David and Goliath. Bigger the man, harder he falls. Bigger the man. He reprogrammed me to thinking that bigger the man, harder he falls. I must not worry. I must go low and tackle. That's rugby for you. And one day I believed this man, and I decided I'm going to take the biggest player from the other side. I was just 16 years. I took the biggest player on the other side. I went and I tackled this guy. Lo and behold, bigger the man, harder he falls is true. This man fell, unfortunately, on me. I'm 60 kilos. This man is probably 110 kilos, fell on me. I became a plaster on that ground. And I gave this story and I ended saying, David and Goliath doesn't matter. Any genius can come and tell you, but physics is physics. Sometimes the bigger and the stronger will crush and evaporate the smaller and the puny. So don't just get motivated for false reasons. Always know what your strengths are and then do that. As you can see, same topic, two entirely different speeches. One disagreed, one had no idea what the topic was. But it finally came down to personal experiences and the way you tackled it. I won the contest and my friend was the first runner-up. Both of us proceeded to the area contest as well. Right? So that is my story to tell you. You must never worry about what is the topic that I don't know and what am I going to do about that topic. Because you know what? Joe was very nice to talk about winning the vice championship, and it was very different. It wasn't a table topic. It was literally a debate with people like Shamraj. It's not fun. 3 rounds, one after the other. On these were not Toastmaster topics of very generous, very nice, beautiful. No, these are the topics that they train us in Toastmasters not to talk about. Everything about sex and politics and religion. They will ask you about child rights. They will ask you about LGBTQ. They will ask you about legalizing drugs. They will ask you about same-sex marriage. This is what the topics were, right? So During wise, how did I manage to do it? This is what it is. After having won that, I still tell you there are days that I go to my club and the table topics master read the topic and I get stuck because I haven't heard of that before. Or I am not ready that day. I haven't paid enough attention or I haven't been listening. What do? Well, I consider that a bad day. I try to swing my way through for the 1.5 minutes until I see the yellow light or the yellow card, and I come back and I tell myself, okay. One thing that I do though is if the speech is bad and if I didn't know about the topic, when I come back, I learn about it. So that becomes the first and the last day that I get stuck about that topic. Right? So if you have that attitude and you do that, there is going to be fewer and fewer topics that you cannot talk about. Again, I'm not being pompous or arrogant here, but I can tell you there'll be very few topics that you can throw at me that I won't be able to string some speech for 2 minutes. Because for the past almost 12 years, I've absolutely loved table topics. I've absolutely taken every opportunity that is given. And I have been absolutely shameless about the hundreds and hundreds of times that I have given rubbish speeches and people have literally or verbally molested me in their evaluations. I've been all right. It's their opinion, no, what to do. One bad day, right? I get many bad days. But at the same time, the beauty of it is a lot of people don't remember those rubbish speeches. They only remember the 1 or 2 times I've done well and won competitions. It's okay. I still remember those, but in my defense, those were the stories and those were the speeches that made me become also the speaker that won those competitions and titles as well. So this finally comes down to you mentally accepting the fact that this is a competition like anything else. There are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days. Like I said, there is a process that I have understood. If you practice that again and again, and you internalize it and you become very good at it, there are going to be days you're going to do better in contests than your other speakers. And some days you will win the contest. Right? But what matters is if you keep doing this genuinely, you're going to become a sharper thinker. You're going to become a sharper communicator. With all due respect to all the lovely people who win international speech contest and go all the way to World Championship, we all know you can write the script, get it edited from your mentors, practice it 1 million times and go on stage and deliver it. It's good, it's beautiful, it's inspiring, but you have always practiced. That's not the thrill when you go up on stage and they drop a random topic out of the possibility of a billion options and then give you 5 seconds to speak about it for 2.5 minutes. And if you can do it better more often than you get it wrong, hey, you have mastered a life skill. You're going to get away every Friday night that you get late to go home and your mother or your wife come to the door and ask, where did you go? You're going to get away every time your boss call you and ask when you miss a deadline and you haven't submitted it. You're going to get away every time Havaldar stops you and asks you for your license or try to get your breath and say drink driving, all of that. You're going to even get away by even invading Ukraine because you're so smart at thinking on your feet and giving answers. So this is a life skill. I fell in love with this and I've been doing it ever since. So you need to cultivate that likeness, that passion, and you need to forgive yourself and don't take it too serious. Every now and then you give a rubbish speech, you come up with a topic that you don't know. That's fine, that's part of the process. But you shouldn't stop trying or doing because of that. You must keep doing this again and again. And like I said, there's going to be 1 or 2 days you're going to get lucky and you might win a title. And then they'll remember that. That's true story. That's what happened to me. Right? So if they recorded all the table topics I've given in the last 12 years, and they will tell what a rubbish speaker I am. Thank God for my sake, they don't have the recordings of that. They only have the recordings of the few that I won. So that's okay. The world remembers that. I remember everything else. End result is I am more confident and better at this than I was 12 years ago. Am I where I am? Yes, I want vice and everything, but I will still go back to club and keep doing this for the next thy kingdom come days. Right. So this is my story and this is what I believe in. This is the process that I do. And I hope that is useful. And in that process, um, I answered a lot of the questions that you all asked. One of the final things I want to share is what do you do when you get stuck? Because it happens. I have seen it happening at district level with some of the most eloquent speakers that I have contested against, because it's just one of those random days. And then when the pressure is high and you really want to do well in a contest, all of these things accumulate. You're stressed and you get it wrong, right? I always say have a couple of saver lines. What are saver lines? These are lines that you can use when you get stuck in a space, right? Something is a simple technique that works most of the time is repeat the line that you said before. Very often when you repeat the line that you say, of course, don't do it like a parrot, be a little dramatic about it and just pretend like you're repeating it for emphasis. But the moment you do that, thoughts come and then you can start again. Second trick is always look at a speech. Some of you have asked here, how do you structure a table topic? My brothers and sisters, in 10 seconds, you can't plan a 2-minute speech. This is the other thing where a lot of people get stuck, is that in that 10 seconds, they are thinking they can come up with the entire 2.5-minute speech. And they think they can come up with a very catchy opening, they can come up with a very nice ending. No, you can't do anything in that 10 seconds. My trick is the moment I hear the topic, I relate it to a theme or an idea or a message, and I ask myself, do I agree or disagree? And then whatever the first thought that comes to my mind, I start the speech. Whether it is to sing a song, to do a dance, talk about a person, whatever. Some days it is to repeat the question, repeat the topic and ask the audience. When I'm absolutely stuck, I have done that also. So it doesn't really matter how you start, but what matters is during the process, even when you get stuck or even otherwise, you ask questions about the topic. What do I think about the topic? What experience do I have about this topic? Who comes to mind when I think of this topic? What about them comes to mind about this topic? What do I want to tell the audience about this topic? Where have I heard about this topic? You keep asking, how is that topic important to people? How is that topic relevant to today's context? When you keep asking yourself these questions mentally, you can even ask them rhetorically to the audience, and then you start giving answers. That's the structure of your speech. You just need on average 2 or 3 questions and then to answer. Remember what I said, it's just a game of 240 words, sorry, 280 words, 200 for Joe, 2 minutes, 120 seconds. This is all the game is. You just got to be comfortable, be in that present moment and enjoy what you're saying. And when you are at that level of comfort, that is when you can come up with body language, you can come up with theatrics, you can even use, if you remember 2017, Sham was counting steps from the entrance of the hall to the stage, and he ended it. That's how brilliant that man is. He ended it by continuing the counting back off stage. The moment he finished, everybody said, hey, that's the winner, yaar. Give him that. Why do you want to ask judges and trouble there? That's how brilliant that is. And then if you remember his how do I say, his partner, Selva, won it in 2018. This man did a magic trick on stage. Pulled some hanky, put it under his jacket, and I was like, where do you guys come up with these things? Partly prepared, that's okay. But the fact that they were present in that moment to relate it to the topic, brilliant. These theatrics come later. Once you are confident and comfortable practicing this, repeating this process, making mistakes and just becoming comfortable talking about a topic of what you know. You just keep doing that. You just keep doing that. You get comfortable. The rest of it flows. You keep asking questions, 2 or 3 questions, and keep answering them. That's it. Again, this is not bulletproof. There will still be a day that you get stuck or anything, but you practice a rhetorical question, repeating the line, asking yourself a question and then trying to answer, relating it to the audience. These are 3-4 techniques that you can do when you get stuck, not only in a table topics, in any given situation, even in a prepared speech if you get stuck, right? So that is that. How to talk. Okay, how do you become humorous and how do you become, again, it's all about those experiences and those memories, moments that you have in mind, right? Yes, there are techniques about creating humor on the spot, certain funny words, exaggerated body language, uh, the rate of speech being increased or decreased, vocal variation. There are quick tricks that creates a bit of humor. I mean, I still watch so much of Indian stand-up comedy. I kid you not, I was in Mumbai in 2018. I went to the Canvas Comedy Club. And one of our humorous speaking champions, 2012, um, hey, Joe, help me here. What's his name? He's a famous South Indian stand-up comedian. So,
Alex,
Babu, Babu.
Alexander.
Babu, right? And then you have guys like Kenny Sebastian, you have guys like Abhishek Upmanyu, you have guys like Random Chikibam. Who's that?
Rahul Subramanian.
Rahul Subramaniam. There you go, right? And then you have all these. Who's that guy from Haryana, the short guy? My God, if you go on my YouTube, you will have all the suggested videos from Indian stand-up comedy. So when you watch and listen to a lot of these stand-up comedians, right? I love from the popular culture. I love Kevin Hart. I love Chris Rock. I love a lot of black comedians, and on top of them, I love a guy like Ricky Gervais, right? I love a guy like C.K. Lewis. I love comedy of people like who's that famous Trevor Noah, right? So you listen to these guys, you understand some of their techniques, you incorporate it to you. That's how you become a little bit humorous and creative. That's a topic for another day. Okay, and here's one more thing. The most important thing about a table topics contest, and I still believe in 2014, when one of your own Chennai boys, Gautam Sharma, won the district championship, right? I was the runner-up. This is in Goa, 2014. The difference between Gautam's and my speeches was simply the fact that he had such a dramatic ending. The topic was, the finals, the topic was, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And we spoke about some nice things. And then how did Gautam end that speech? That 6 feet 2 inch tall structure, the guy dropped it. He fell on his knees and he repeated the topic. He said, what? If you don't stand for something, and he fell on the stage on his knees and he said, you'll fall for anything. What a climax. What an ending. What drama, right? I was before him. I spoke and I was in the audience. I saw that and I told myself, okay, no, I was very lucky to get away as the runner-up. But the trick of table topics is you got to end it big. You got to end it with drama. You got to end it with theatrics, right? So doesn't matter what rubbish you have spoken for 2 to 2.5 minutes. You got to understand the judges start marking the paper at the end of your last word. So the moment your last word or your last sentence is emotional, impactful, uplifting, that's how you end it. You end big. You end it huge. And then the judges they don't remember how you started. They don't even remember what you were talking about. When the ending is that already started giving you full marks. That's the trick of winning contest. Right? So opening doesn't matter so much. Go with the first thought, ending is what matters. End big. And here's another trick about contest. You don't have to speak for 2.5 minutes. The qualification criteria is 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. So the green card, if I remember right, green card comes at 1 minute, amber comes at 1 minute 30. So that means when the amber comes, you're already in the in zone. So by that time, if you see the audience reaction and you feel good about your speech, end it. Because none of the judges, I'm talking about a contest, none of the judges gets to know whether you spoke for 1.5 minutes or 2.5 minutes. Nobody gets to know. What matters is when you end it and you end it big, they just mark it, that's it. So when you know that the audience is riding with you and you know that you have made your point and you're at, again, this comes with a bit of practice. Do a very theatrical, do a very emphatic end. And that's it. Yeah, I think I have pretty much covered all the questions. And that presentation, my friends, were impromptu. I didn't come prepared. I didn't have slides, I didn't have notes. I'm just looking at the chat, I'm looking at your questions, and I'm just answering. So 12 years of doing it, you can bullshit your way through 1 hour of table topics training. Joe, I don't think they have any questions.
Let us all unmute and give a huge round of applause to our own champion speaker. You could unmute and give a, let's hear the sound. That's one thing which we are missing in a virtual meeting, right? The sound of the claps.
Yeah.
What better than an impromptu presentation for an impromptu speech preparation, right? So I'm sure all of you enjoyed. In the interest of time, if you still have a few questions, you can send it to us. We will, whenever he is free, get it answered from Sandun. Right now, in the interest of time, we will try to close with just taking a couple of feedback. We will hear it from one of our members and one guest on how you felt. Let's see, let me just pick. Okay, Rohit. Rohit, if you could share.
Yeah.
Rohit is a member.
Yes, good evening all. That was a very interesting and constructive feedback which I got from Sandun. It will help me to be a good table topics master. And I think that it was a very good idea that you told us about relating everything in that zones. I think this is the best idea which I got, and I think I will now start constructing and see that how can I fit in someone in some zone. I think that was the best I get from this. It will really help me a better table topic master. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for sharing that. Guess I'm not going to name you. Let's see who's going to be the first guest who will unmute and share. Okay, Nidhi is already unmuted before I complete. Yes, go ahead, Nidhi.
All right. All right. So I want to say that it was a lovely session, a great one. I picked up so many things here, and likewise, I have asked you one question, like how to become a good speaker. So you answer my question there and there. So, but I really enjoyed the session, and the way you have presented it, that was like that was in a very great manner, and you have spoken for more than 1 hour non-stop continuously. So this
Sorry
shows
about
that
that.
this shows that you're a great speaker. So it's just one thing, like you have given us so many tricks in this session. So just one thing, if I throw a table topic to you, can you speak for a minute or two?
I was hoping nobody's going to do that, but okay, let's try.
Though I don't have much in my mind, I wanted to give you something like unusual kind of topic, but I could not thought of so. So my simple topic to you is life as an object. Life as an object.
Life as an object.
Yes.
life as an object. There is nothing objective about life. Why do I say that? Because everybody has a very unique experience about life. If you ask right now, yes, we heard from Rohit and even Nidhi, you said about what a wonderful speech this has been, and you went to the extent of giving me a topic right now. However, there is a few in this audience who didn't speak, who were waiting to have their dinner, and they couldn't do this because this bald man was going on and on about table topics and probably repeated it. But they're not going to come in and say, because they're afraid that if they say that when majority are praising this guy and saying this is what is good, that they might be looked out. However, that is their subjective experience. And if they came here expecting for something a little different and I didn't give it to them, it's fair by them to feel that this was not good, despite many of you thinking that this was good. Because life is a subjective experience. There is very less things objective about life. And if you experience life in your subjective way, every moment is going to be beautiful for you. And as you go through this, you will start realizing that life becomes beautiful when you don't prioritize yourself. Life is not made from what you collect and store, because remember, we are not taking anything away. So while you're alive, make your life's subjective mission to give objective happiness to everyone around you. And that way, when you are gone, your subjective experience you will take with you, but people will objectively say what a wonderful human you have been. I really don't know if I heard the topic right or wrong, but
No, I would say, you said it very beautifully. So again, it was
Sandun, I
wonderful.
can assure you one thing.
Yes.
It's recorded.
So I don't know to which category this speech belongs to, but there you go. One is recorded. Didi, I hope I got your topic right because I heard it like life as an object, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I kind of played with the topic. If you noticed, I kind of, instead of treating it as an object, I kind of twisted it saying, is it objective? And then I went on to say that it is not objective, it is subjective, but I played with a bit of words towards the end and said, okay, however, do not make it all about collecting things, but give it away, then, just
Yes.
anyways, I'm just justifying what I said. I leave it up to you, the honorable judges, to decide whether it was good or bad. So,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much,
putting in this
Nidhi,
spot,
yeah,
Nidhi.
for the feedback. And also, we wanted to do it, but since we got delayed a bit, I thought we will skip. But then anyway, we had it. That itself is a feedback, right? On a Friday morning, we might not want to sit in a meeting for more than 30 minutes. Like on a Friday night, what we are scheduled till 9:30, we still are ready to listen to one more topic at 9:45. That itself is a feedback, right?
Thank
That
you.
we have been
You are
having
very
a good
nice and
time.
generous with your time, and I hope your families are not cursing
Thank
you
you
also.
so much. Before we officially end it, I would like to add a couple of words here for the benefit of guests. What we witnessed today is an education session on table topics. Now, table topics is the impromptu speaking tradition in Toastmasters. Any Toastmasters meeting is divided into three sections where you have a prepared speech. If you remember Shandun telling that you prepare on it and deliver a speech, right? So you come prepared and deliver a speech. And that gets evaluated by senior Toastmasters who give you feedback on what you did well and what you could have done better. And between this first and third session is this table topic session where every week we have guests and members who get to speak on it. Just like how Nidhi gave a random topic to Sandun and he just spoke. There will be someone like a table topic master who will give topics and 6 to 7 members or around 8 members and guests get a chance to speak in impromptu speaking. This also goes to a level of a contest, and that is what we are preparing into, and that is why this education session today. And the reason to mention this is when we learn something in Toastmasters and we can implement it outside Toastmasters, there isn't anything bigger than that, because it's not just about this 1 hour session or 2 hour session every week. What we learn here, we get to, or we need to implement it outside our work or outside Toastmasters too. And table topics helps a lot. If you remember a lot of examples which Shandun gave, right? Right from tackling your family members or even your managers, your table topics, impromptu skills helps you a lot. This is how, as a package, Toastmasters is. Toastmasters is present like across 140 plus countries around the world, and Backpackers is one such club, and we have a combo of travel enthusiasts and Toastmasters who want to be better in terms of communication and leadership. It's a 1-year-old club, and we have already been one of the top clubs in the district. We could see a lot of awards behind a few of our members as virtual background, right? So these are the awards which we have earned so far. Would like to thank all the members who turned up, and also would like to thank all the members who brought the guests, and special appreciations to guests, because guests who were here for the very first time, who have never been to any Toastmasters meeting, they have stayed back for the entire duration. That is definitely a great effort you have taken to be part of this meeting. So once again, thank you so much for that. And to finally conclude, we would like to recognize our dear friend. So for which, let me invite our club president, Toastmaster Abhilash, to recognize our guest speaker, Sandun. Over to you, Abhilash.
Thank you, Toastmaster George. Again, I would like to give a huge round of applause to Toastmasters for such a wonderful session about table topics contest. I really loved many ideas. I got it. My one takeaway is that drop of paint on canvas and do the modern art by yourself on the stage. I really loved it. And this is going to be my takeaway from today's session. And Joe, I request you to give me the sharing rights, so I will be able to share the screen, share the certificate.
Yeah, enabled.
A backpack full of thanks to Toastmasters Sandun for conducting today's session, Rock the Table negotiation for table topic contest. It's a token of appreciation from Backpackers Toastmasters Club. It's so heartwarming to listen to such a wonderful speaker on a Friday evening. Thank you, Sandun, for a wonderful session.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
As we witnessed today's session, and I also might have seen, we are going to have continuous meetings from Friday night, and tomorrow we are having a meeting where we support another club in our area, Speakerholic Toastmasters Club, where the members from our club and their club are combined together, and we are going to host a wonderful meeting. It starts tomorrow at 7 p.m. And similarly, our next voyage will be on Sunday, 4 p.m. A wonderful session for ISC preparation. International Speech Contest, which is another contest which we are all waiting for, prepare, fingers crossed. I would ask the audience and guests not to miss that, and bring and also members to bring back more guests to the club, so many can get the benefit out of the best speakers which we are bringing to the club. That's it from my side as the president of today. President, and Joe, any other announcements you have?
Yeah, we can close it. Yeah.
Okay, with this, time for after party. If you guys want to stay back.